Hello everyone, I'm Adhiraj and I'm something of a grandson to the author. I will be talking about this poem called Uska Sach. Um, and as Dr. Vidyanidhi already pointed out, these stories are about Gumshuda Log. And she also wrote in the introduction that this story is about a person who is sort of alienated from her own life. वो अपनी ही जिंदगी से गुमशुदा है. And this is Srimati Prabhakar, or Mrs. Prabhakar, as she will be referred to more commonly. So let's just begin with the way the story begins. It begins with the principal addressing the student. The student is named Chetan Chauhan, and he says, "तुम ही देश के भविष्य हो." And you know, the very first line gives it away that there is a conflict here. And this conflict is of the nature of politics, which is also embedded in a generational conflict, in the sense that Chetan does not think highly of the nation. For him, the nation is a mood. It is abstract. It does not have a definite future. But that's not true for the principle. The principle comes from a generation which is not too far from the British rule. For them, nationalism had a very different meaning. Nationalism was something that brought the nation together, and it got them freedom. Whether or not this is actually true, you know, social scientists could argue. I'm not one, so I would rather believe what his generation believes, speaking from the experience of this principle. And there we see how, you know, this idea of a more post-colonial subject, someone who has freshly been out of the British rule, thinks of nationalism, and how, you know, there is a certain drift away from these ideas of nationalism. But then there is a sort of idea of modernity, which is again reflected in Chetan. And Chetan also says that the Western winds have nothing to do with me. But he still has these ideas of the future being uncertain, everything being ambivalent, in conflict, nothing being certain at any given point. So that is buying into a more postmodern discourse, which is very Western, but he has adopted it. And he is speaking to this principle because he has done something very questionable in class. He has been fairly rude to his teacher, Mrs. Prabhakar. And I think the rest of the story is largely a conversation between Chetan and Mrs. Prabhakar. But what I find interesting here is that it is not just it's not just a conversation which takes place through speech, but actually through silence. There is a lot that is said in the silence here. Because if you see, Srimati Prabhakar does not have as many dialogues as Chetan. Chetan is fairly vociferous. He is fairly certain about all the things he believes in. And Srimati Prabhakar will not offer her views through speech. But she is silent in speech, but not in the text. You know, and I think this is a very gendered thing. Because of course it is buying into that trope of an agitated young man who will not hesitate before confronting his teacher. And the teacher, you know, no matter how strict she is, she will be taken aback. And this is also buying into a certain trope of femininity where औरत थोड़ी सहमी सी होगी. But it is not that she is silenced. You know, there is a fairly strong liminal space where the text explores how this particular incident has affected her. How she is living an identity, performing an identity of in her routine, and the routine becomes her identity of being this strict teacher for whom every student is just a number. You know, there is a certain sort of alienation between the student and the experience of the teacher. And on the other hand, Chetan has also seen quite a bit of alienation. And he says that very clearly. That is not something that the text does for him, that is something that he does for himself. He says that I do not relate to these Western books. I do not relate to these stories that are not about me, that are not about my people. And I think that again goes back to the British rule, you know, how there is a certain sense of legacy that is being carried on through this kind of education. And I think this is also reflected in the way the story is written, because the language reflects that fairly clearly, because the principal is referred to as the principal, not as Mukhya Adhyapak. You know, when Mrs. Prabhakar is described, her hair is of a ponytail shaggy. You can already see the hybrid sort of language here. And that facilitates a very translational space that readers like I will inhabit. Because I have read some Hindi literature, but my training has largely been in diasporic English literature and writings of native English writers. So I think there is that translational space that is going on in this text. And I think that is also in tandem with the kind of topics that are at hand here. You know, a fairly modern yet Indian